PTR just got updated, and Probius is he's talking to us. Probius is a new hero that just landed, and he's kind of a mix between, he's sort of like a mix between Gazlo, the old Gazlo, because he just got updates on the PTR too. And I'm trying to think of who else he's a mix between. I think Gazlo's probably the closest thing that that this hero is kind of resembling, where you build turrets and you kind of camp out a spot waiting for people to come into your trap, and then you blast them. The difference between him and Gazlo is he does a lot of burst damage using warp rifts, and he can also warp in plasma cannon. You can't really warp in a lot of plasma cannons, not like in StarCraft 2 where you can just have like tons and tons of plasma cannons. But I'll go ahead and show you first his what his skins look like, both for his regular skin, then his master, and then his Terran version. So this is the regular version. Three color variations, and then his master skin gets a little bit more flare and these little whirly bits on his side. Second variation, and his third variation. He does have a Terran version, the Terran Probius. So that's the first color variation. The second one, very much SCV looking like, and finally the third one. And when you spin him around, that's what happens to him. Poor Probius. So let's go ahead and check out his talents. There's a lot to cover here. So first I'm going to get rid of my ally hero. I don't need him. Sorry, Malfurion. So first let's take a look at his abilities. First ability is Disruption Pulse. Mana is 75, cooldown is 3 seconds. Fire Burst of Energy forward, dealing 158 damage to all enemies it passes through. Hitting the center of a warp rift will cause it to explode, dealing additional damage. So this is what it looks like. Now how it's really used is in conjunction with a warp rift. So warp rift has the mana cost is 150. Its charge cooldown is 6 seconds. Open an unstable warp rift at a location that takes 1.25 seconds to arm, which then slows nearby enemies by 20%, lasting 9 seconds. Armed warp rifts explode when hit by Disruption Pulse, dealing 275 damage to nearby enemies. So this is what a warp rift looks like, and this is what happens when you shoot it. You can see it does 274 points of damage. It does take a little while for the warp rift from when you activate the ability to where it will actually enter the continuum, as it were. So you can see I activated it, and now it's active for me to be able to shoot it. I was out of mana, so if you use a pylon, it will regenerate your mana. Warp in a pylon, cooldown is 14 seconds. Warp in a pylon that generates a power field and grants vision of the surrounding area. Probius only regenerates mana while inside a power field, so he doesn't regenerate mana otherwise. Up to 2 pylons can be active at a time. I missed. And finally, his last one is the Photon Cannon. Warp in a Photon Cannon that deals 99 damage per second, lasts for 11 seconds, must be placed within a pylon's power field. deactivates if it doesn't have a pylon powering it, much like in StarCraft 2. So that's what the photon cannon looks like. I noticed that it's a little bit different from StarCraft 2. So in StarCraft 2, you can just warp in a pylon, then you can warp in a photon cannon right afterwards. There's a small delay between when you can warp in a pylon and when you can warp in a photon cannon. It's not instantaneous. The pylon once you warp it in, it takes a while for it to materialize, and then finally you can warp in the photon cannon. It took me a little while to figure that out. Arthas is doing his little thing up here. So let's take a look at his talents. So his level 1 talents, Echo Pulse. The Disruption Pulse returns to Probius. It now returns to Probius 1.25 seconds after reaching its target, dealing 75% damage on the return trip. So that's what that looks like. Warp Resonance is a quest talent. Hit heroes with Warp Rift explosions. After hitting 10 heroes with Warp Rift explosions, increase explosion damage by 100. After hitting 20 heroes with Warp Rift explosions, Warp Rift gains an additional charge. So currently, if you could only have 2 Warp Rifts. Once you hit 20 heroes, if you pick Warp Resonance, then you get 3. Finally, the last one is Gather Minerals, which is another quest talent. Enemy heroes and minions drop minerals when killed. Collect them to increase the health of photon cannons by 8 up to 560. After you collect 70 minerals, photon cannons deal 25% more damage, can see over obstacles, and reveal nearby cloaked units. It says a grand vision, but I don't think that the pylons reveal stealth units. I think only the photon cannons do once you complete the Gather Minerals quest. I'm going to set my level to 30 here. So I'm just going to pick one of these. So his level 4 talents are Photon Barrier. Gains spell armor while photon cannon is active. He gains 30 spell armor while the photon cannon is alive and powered. Turbocharged, so Worker Rush, which I failed to cover, gains an additional 20% passive movement speed while in a power field, and his cooldown is reduced by 20 seconds. So he moves faster than regular heroes. His Worker Rush is a cooldown of 40 seconds. When you activate it, it gains an additional 60% movement speed for 5 seconds. Taking damage ends this effect early. Passive, Probius moves 10% faster by hovering over the ground, so he moves 10% faster than regular heroes do. This is just what Worker Rush looks like. So turbocharged and increases that the passive movement speed, and its cooldown is reduced by 20 seconds. And shield capacitor, Probius gains a permanent shield equal to 10% of his max health. Shields regenerate quickly as long as he hasn't taken damage recently. It's pretty straightforward. I'll just take one of these. So his level 7 talents, Particle Accelerator. The Disruption Pulse deals 10% more damage for each enemy or Warp Rift hit, up to 40%. That can be a lot of burst damage. Second one is Rift Shock. Hitting an enemy hero with Warp Rift explosion increases Probius' damage against them by 20% for 10 seconds. Hitting an enemy hero with Warp Rift explosion increases Probius' damage against them. Okay, so I see. So you hit an enemy hero with Warp Rift, and then any damage that you do against that hero for 10 seconds is increased by 20%. Tower Defense. Reduce photon cannon cooldown when photon cannon damages an enemy hero, its cooldown is reduced by 1.25 seconds. Pretty straightforward. I'll just pick one of these. So his ultis are Pylon Overcharge, Weaponized Pylons. Its mana is 100, its cooldown is 80 seconds. Increase the size of Pylon power fields and allow them to attack enemies within it for 357 damage per second, lasts 10 seconds. Its passive ability is Pylons gain permanent shields equal to 50% of their max health. And his next one is Null Gate. Its mana is 100 and its cooldown is 40 seconds. And it uses vector targeting. It projects a barrier of negative energy in the target direction that lasts 4 seconds. Enemies who touch the barrier take 208 damage per second and are slowed by 80% for as long as they remain in contact with it. So I'll choose the first one so you can see what that looks like, and then I'll choose the second one. So Pylon Overcharge. Toggle cooldowns. So you can see that we did a total of, well, I'm shooting it, but about 10,000 points of damage for both of the pylons hitting it, which is an outstanding amount of damage, assuming that you have both pylons activated. So I'll reset my talents here. And then I'll show you what Null Gate looks like. So Null Gate, when you activate it, it's vector targeting. So it looks like that. And then he basically just throws down this field of energy that lasts for 4 seconds, and enemies who touch the barrier take 208 and are slowed for 80 seconds. So if you were able to watch the Probius video, you can see that the example that they used is him using a Null Gate. Enemies are walking through it, and then Ragnos's lava wave comes and wipes out a bunch of heroes because they take damage and then they're slowed by a massive amount. On level 13 talents is Aggressive Matrix. So the Pylon's power field grants allied heroes 20% increased attack damage. You can see that. You can see what the Pylon's area of effect is here by the blue. Power Overflowing. Pylon's power field grants allied heroes 10% increased spell power and 2 mana per second. And finally, Shield Battery. Pylon's power field grants allied heroes 97 shields per second up to 389. Shield persist after 4 seconds after exiting a pylon power field. So those are all pretty good. I guess it depends on which comp that you have. So if you have mage heavy / spell heavy comp, you probably want to go for this one. And it's also one of the only talents on a hero that allows you to regenerate mana for other heroes. I think the only other one in the game is Malfurion's Innervate. So this allows you to regenerate 2 mana per second. This one it just increases the attack damage. So if you have a heavy AA comp, that'd probably be good. Let's say, I don't know, defending one of the Dragon Shire shrines, you pop that down and you have a lot of AA heroes. They can do obviously 20% more damage. And this one, if you have a lot of, I guess, squishy heroes in your comp and you want to protect them, then you can do that. I don't know what the effect is I don't know how the shields stack. Let's say if you choose shield battery. You enter the shield. You get the shield. Then Tassadar shields you, and then Zarya shields you. I don't know how the shield stacking works like that. I'd have to play around with it, but it would be an interesting thing to note, because these shields last for 4 seconds after you exit the pylon. So you can exit, then Tassadar puts a shield on you. I'm not sure exactly the how all of that integrates. So I'll just choose, I don't know, this one. His level 16 talents are Quantum Entanglement. So enemies continue to be slowed for 3.5 seconds after their last contact with a warp rift. The Gravity Well. Enemies are slowed more closer. Enemies are slowed more the closer they are to the center of the warp rift, up to a maximum slow of 60%. So again, that's what the warp rift looks like. So if they're closer to this, they're going to be slowed more if you choose the Gravity Well talent than if they are further away from the center of it. Repulsor. Enemies hit by warp rift explosion are knocked away from the center. And Interference. Enemy heroes hit by warp rift detonations have their spell power reduced by 35% for 3 seconds. That's pretty good, especially if you're against a comp that is spell power heavy. So a lot of mages, you can detonate a warp rift and reduce their effectiveness for 35% for 3 seconds. So I'll just use Repulsor there. His level 20 talents is Construct Additional Pylons, the first one. Probius can now have active. I can't talk. It can now have up to 3 active pylons and increases the damage of pylon overcharge by 25%. So, as you saw before, I can only have 2 pylons active. With Construct Additional Pylons, you can have 3, and the pylon overcharge damage is increased by 25%. So you can, what is 25%? 10,000. So another, 2,500 points of damage for the duration of the pylon overcharge. The other one is Gatekeeper. Null Gate lasts indefinitely. If either end is within a power field, only one null gate may be active at a time. So that would be good. That would be a good talent. Let's say if you're guarding a choke point, let's say Brax's holdout. You're guarding one of the choke points up to, let's say you're up the top of the beacon of Brax's holdout, and you're defending the left side of it. You can, if you put down the power field, you can put down that the null gate down there indefinitely, assuming that it's powered and they don't destroy the pylons. Shoot 'em up. Hitting a warp rift with Disruption Pulse causes 4 additional pulses that deal 50% damage to be fired from the impact location in different directions. Additional pulses do not benefit from Echo Pulse or Particle Accelerator. And finally, Probius Loop. Whenever a rift explosion hits 2 or more enemy heroes, create a new warp rift in the same location. I want to see how hitting a warp rift would... I want to see how shoot 'em up works. It didn't seem to do what I thought it was going to do. Let me read that again. Hitting a warp rift with disruption pulses costing additional pulses that deal 50%. Let's see if I can hit Arthas with it. It may be that this is not showing me what I need to see. So you can see the amount of damage that I'm doing to Arthas, which is pretty significant if I do hit him. Whoops, missed there. I wonder what happens if I miss and then come back. Yeah, it does. So if you pick the level 1 talent, which the Disruption Pulse returns to Probius, and you miss on the first shoot of your Warp Rift, you can actually catch it on the return trip. So you can see here, I'm gonna miss it and try to hit it here on my return trip. So that's pretty neat. I didn't realize that before. It's kind of handy just in case you are not, I don't know, good with skill shots. You can have a second chance to detonate it. So those are all his talents and his skins and his abilities. He's quite powerful. I've played him in a couple of AI exhibition matches, and you can see the amount of damage he does is just amazing. Let's see if I can get him here. Nope. I really like that return one. Yeah, look at Arthas' damage, or health. So I hope you enjoyed this PTR look at Probius. There's a ton of changes in the new PTR, and I'll be doing some more videos to show those off, including some of the UI changes here. You can see different health bar. The health bar looks a little bit flatter, and the damage, the health bar segments I think are a little bit more easy to read. But I'll do another video showcasing all of those things. Thanks for watching, and I'll be right back with some more PTR updates.